VCs want to invest in an engine. They want to believe that if you put $1 into customer acquisition, 10 more will consistently come back. So your job is to bring evidence to light which shows that not only have you acquired customers profitably before, but that you can do it again at an even bigger scale. Welcome to part 2 of our series on acing your first meeting with VCs. Today, we're going to be talking about how to present your traction. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the first part of the series. To reiterate what I said in the first video, when it comes to your traction, the message you want to get across is, our customers love us, and we're really good at getting more of them. The rest of this video will teach you how to get VCs to believe this. There are 3 main stories that resonate with investors about traction. I've written about all of them extensively on the Pitchdoctor website, but in brief they are, we're growing really fast, our customers really love us, and we're really good at acquiring new customers. Hopefully things are going well enough that you can prove one or all of these about your business. However, if you don't have enough evidence for any of these stories, I wouldn't try to fake it. VCs will see straight through it. Instead, you should focus on making your case in the other 3 pillars of your pitch, value proposition, market, and team, as strong as possible. To be completely honest, in this situation, I would encourage you to take a long, hard look at whether it makes sense to fundraise at all. Fundraising without traction is brutal for all but the most network founders, even at the pre-seed stage. Anyway, now that we know the 3 traction stories, let's dive into how to get VCs to believe in each of them. We'll start with the first one. We're growing really fast. Talking to VCs about your growth seems trivial, but you'd be shocked by how many founders screw this up. When you say you're growing, you need to point to a metric, but not all metrics are created equally. To put it bluntly, when it comes to growth, revenue is king. If you can show that your revenue is growing quickly, then emphasize that. If you don't have revenue just yet, or it's growing at a lackluster pace, the next best thing to point to is a metric that shows investors that you're about to get revenue. Examples of this include pre-orders, waitlist signups, pilots, etc. These all indicate customer willingness to pay. In the event you don't have evidence of revenue growth, or any other metric showing growing willingness to pay, then point to user growth. Rapid user growth does impress investors, but it's important to note that it is much less convincing than revenue itself. The only situation when user growth is seen on par with revenue is where your startup plans to monetize by selling access to your user base, for example in social media. Now that we've established what type of metric to focus on, we need to show that it's growing. Many founders make the mistake of presenting their revenue like this: we have $100,000 of ARR. Cool, they've said a big number. However, other than that, they provided no sense of how fast the business is growing. For all we know, revenue could have actually halved in the last year. Meanwhile, other founders will say something like this: our revenue has grown 30% month on month. This is the opposite problem. The listeners will have no idea whether the company has grown sales to $100 or to $10 million. And there's a massive difference between these 2 things. So here are some ground rules for framing your growth correctly. State 1, where the metric you're showing off is today. 2, how much it has grown. And 3, the time frame it has grown in. The end result should sound something like this: we've grown from 0 to 100k ARR in the last 3 months. With growth handled, let's talk about the second traction narrative. Our customers really love us. User love can be shown in many ways, and it is such a big topic that it would be impossible to fully cover here. So for the sake of brevity, I'll only run through the core principles. If you want to learn how to show user love in all of its glorious detail, I recommend you check out the article which I've left a link to in the description. Anyway, there are 5 signs that your users love you. Users who love you use your product as frequently as they should and keep using it, pay you more money over time, refer your product to other people, say nice things about you unprovoked, and say nice things about you when you ask them for their opinion. Your goal is to show investors that your users are doing some of these things. If you're fortunate enough to have users who are doing many of the above, then it's important to remember that not all evidence of user love is created equally. Investors will put more weight on evidence that is grounded in actual customer behavior rather than what customers simply say. This means that you ought to prioritize showing the first 3 of these signs when you can. Before moving on to customer acquisition, I'll provide guidance on the first of these. Demonstrating customer love through usage. Frequent usage is the most convincing indicator of customer love. Nothing shows that customers love your product more than the fact that they use it a lot. Investors know this and therefore pay far more attention to usage numbers than to the Trustpilot score you faked. Unfortunately, many founders struggle to talk compellingly about how their product is being used because what good usage looks like changes from startup to startup. It makes sense for someone to use a calendar app every day, but it would make no sense to expect software that calculates annual tax returns to be used daily. Often, investors won't have an intuitive sense of how often someone should use your thing. So instead of leaving it to chance, it is your job to explain to them what frequent usage looks like, and then provide them with data showing that your product is being used with the ideal frequency. Here's an example of doing this based on a legal tech startup I used to work with. On average, each of our clients' legal teams handles approximately 12 cases annually. Our records show that 100% of our customers have entered at least 10 cases into our system in the last year, indicating that customers are fully utilizing our system for their entire caseload. In this example, the founder first provides a listener with information on how frequently the jobs their product helps with are done, and then provides stats showing that their software is being used as frequently as one would expect given this. They then explicitly spell out the implications to make sure investors get it. Job well done. Let's turn to the final traction story. We're really good at acquiring customers. Like with usage, what good looks like is different from startup to startup. Despite this variability, there are some core principles you need to focus on when pitching. VCs need to believe that your customer acquisition approach is scalable and repeatable, quick, and affordable. Scalability is all about showing investors that you can 10x your approach to acquiring customers without losing efficiency. Quickness is about showing that the amount of effort you spend acquiring customers is worth it for the amount of money you get back in return. It makes sense to spend a year selling $1 million contract. However, it would make no sense if that contract was only worth $5,000. Lastly, affordability is just that. It's about showing that you can acquire customers for far less than you earn from them. I've written an entire article filled with info on the types of metrics you can use to prove scalability, speed, and affordability, covering various different acquisition approaches. I strongly recommend you check it out as it contains a lot of useful detail. Again, link in the description. However, the key thing to keep in mind for now is the investor's mindset. VCs want to invest in an engine. They want to believe that if you put $1 into customer acquisition, 10 more will consistently come back. So your job, when you talk about your historical customer acquisition, is to bring evidence to light which shows that not only have you acquired customers profitably before, but that you can do it again at an even bigger scale. So far, we've gone through quite a bit of theory. Theory is useful, but pitching is so nuanced that it's difficult to know what to really do and how you actually come across without seeing real pitches. If you want to get funded, you need to have a nuanced understanding of what's happening in your meetings and how to respond. And the best way to get this type of understanding is to see tons of other people pitching. That's why ex-VCs are so bloody good at raising money. At Pitchdoctor, I've created a product that gets you great at pitching fast. We've put together tons of recordings of founders pitching real VCs, and each recording is packed with my commentary containing lessons you can apply to your own meetings, letting you move beyond theory into a successful fundraise. Rated over 4 stars by more than 50 founders just like you. You can try it for free at pitchdoctor.app/masterclass. Link in the description. Anyway, with traction done, we're going to stop this video here. The next part of this series will cover presenting a compelling market size during your meeting. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And do check out the fundraising resources at www.pitchdoctor.app.